fallen into the footnotes, slipped into the margins, a numbered reference, addenda. She dances in the index, blink and you'll miss her. Tilly, Leopoldine, piecing together a life from scraps. Enough of being pinned to wealthy velvet, peeping through her own story. Off kilter, off the page, away. She's a tangle of celluloid on the cutting room floor. She is minor interest, not important enough to be remembered, not big enough to be written out of history, exists only in reference to men. She is wife, lover, dalliance, concubine. She is seen in the company of X with question mark. She is a blur, only in focus when her comet swings round a bright man's sun as she is lit by his importance. Never allowed to be her own source of light, her radiance overlooked, no value placed. Imagine if she'd been born a man. She'd be famous. He is fated. She is omitted. Clock that ticks away the afternoon, punctuates the tink of spoon on porcelain, choice of cream or sugar, a slice of bread and butter, knife blade creases in the napkins, servants who hover at her elbow, the view from tall, calm windows across obedient lawns. She counts the time she taps her spoon. Too many and she's being difficult again. Too many and words are shouted, doors slammed. Too many and the nurse brings a powder and a glass of water.
Rip out my feathers, hang them around my throat. They whisper around my shoulder blades. Remind me they were once wings. Remind me how as a child I had a dream where I took my feet off the ground and flew.
She does well for a woman, has a sharp mind for a woman, is muscular and lithe for a woman. She cannot win, cannot be just herself. The world's words will not permit it. He is handsome. She is pretty. He is firm. She is harpy. He has goals. She has daydreams. Speak, gossip, stride, teeter, wild oats, slut, straight talking, foul-mouthed, faithful, clingy, diplomatic, scheming. He is talented. She is just bloody lucky. She will never run the risk of being taken seriously. She is hoochie-coochie, belly dancer, dance hall hoofer, flapper, floozy, hotcha-cotcha, black-bottom bouncer, burlesque bopper, seven-veiled Salome, stripper, exotica, go-go gal, podium pole swinger, lap dancer, grinder. She is rhythm and boozer, 10 cents a loser, up for grabs for any man who's got a $1 bill to stuff in her G-string. She will never run the risk of hard landings, will trip on Chinese rugs, Indian rugs, Persian rugs, Isfahan rugs, Moroccan rugs, cushioned as she falls onto sofas, settees, couches, cushions plumped that morning.
I am a multitude of swatches, mishmash, work in progress. Too many snippets to gather the wholeness of a life. Coat of clashing colours. I am too many. I am too much. I am footnote. Someone else's wife. Little black book with half the pages missing. Diary with months torn out. I am never quite enough. The truth hisses through the gaps.
Night is the only room to which she owns the key. In her dreams she flies and does not fall, wild and incandescent with her truth. Her crowds applaud, adore, approve. Brava! Ancora! They understand. They feed her nighttime hearth. She grows unbalanced, half-gorged, half-starved. Gravity skews, axis tilts. She totters in dizzy circles round a tipped core. Faster and faster, further and further from the true, she loses compass bearings till north is south. She doesn't know which way is up, what to believe, or who.
I was never one for words. I could not read the warning signs, the small print, the scandal sheet, sticks and stones. Names can never. My hands are the opposite of clutching. They know the truth of letting go, the truth of what I can't hold on to. Fingers smooth from all the money that's passed through. I am another beloved rarity, hung alongside the Darleys, the Ernsts, the Magrittes, a bequeathed canopic jar. All those collectibles. I am the only one that insists on breathing.
She ribbons up her ballet pumps, dances where and where no one can see, dances for herself in a dervish spin, faster and closer to a deity she can't believe in, spits in the eye of little gods and husbands as she slingshots past their sun. The only escape is to dance and keep dancing till she plunges into the fire.
I am electric. I'm on fire. My bones and body burn. A moving target. Never in one place long enough for evidence to stack up. Fingerprints melt from cocktail glasses. Lipstick slides from collars. Kisses evaporate on lovers' lips. My eyes are blue. No. Hazel. No. Green.
No.
With copper
Green.
flecks. With copper flecks.
She danced off the page, off the end of the dotted line, shrugged away the planet's atmosphere, seeking out a universe where this is not the story, a universe where she can write her own.
Because goddess is never enough, nor muse, nor Lamia, nor temptress. I am every part, and none. Nothing about me is a lie, and nothing true. I elude definitions, marriages, friends and enemies, health and sickness. Death do her part. Because I cannot be pinned, stitched, hemmed, woven, weft or warped. Because cat's cradle, because hopscotch, ring o' roses, because all fall down, because I fall between other people's lives. And falling is flying if you turn it on its side and look at it the other way. Because I am higher than the sky. Because I am the dance and not the dancer. The flight and not the wing. The shimmer, not the star. I am water round a rock, storm that rages through the trees, lightning that floods the night, thunder that hammers down the sky, the houses beneath it, castles, tents, and little men. I am the one who gets away.